Hello, fellow Deal Scouts. Welcome to another episode of the Deal Scout. I'm your hostess, Susan Reilly. What does interior design, wineries, and business brokerage all have in common with one another? Well, today, our guest, Alana Crumbley, is going to tell us how these three industries intersect. She's an old friend of mine from my commercial real estate days, and I'm super excited that she's here with us today. Welcome, Alana. Hi.
Hi, thank you, Susan. I'm really grateful to be here today and to see you again.
Yeah. It's
Thank you.
fun. We're going to have fun today. I'm excited to hear about us. It's an odd combination. So
It's
yeah,
funny listening to you say it all like that kind of brings me back to when I was dabbling in all of these different things. And I remember like thinking about my future and my career, what would that look like? And I remember telling myself, it's probably going to be a whole lot of different things, and you're going to have to create your own job essentially because of my just different interests.
right, right. Well, let's back up a little bit so we can kind of get a context of how this came about. And besides that, I always think it's really interesting to learn more about the personal sides of my guests. So, would you mind starting there? Let's talk about your upbringing and what you learned about money and business from your parents.
Well, I love that question actually because well, I'm very appreciative, and my parents really did instill a lot of incredible values and principles in me. And they, I remember getting into a fight with them when I was 15 and I got my first job, and they were like, "No, you're not allowed to work yet." And I was like, "But I want to. Like, this is important to me. I want to make my own money."
Sure.
And they're like, "How are you going to even get to work? You don't drive." I was like, and funny enough, my friend Susan at the time, she had
Mhm.
her license, and I was like, "She'll drive me. It's fine. We'll figure it out." But I think that was a story that just kind of symbolizes the motivation that they put in me, the work ethic that they
Sure.
brought to me, but also they were trying to, get me to focus on school, but I just
Right.
was not focused on school, that's for sure. But really, it comes down to the values and principles that they lived by, and then they gifted to me and my sisters. And my dad is actually my mentor in this business. You know him
Oh,
personally.
I do. Yep.
And he's been doing commercial real estate brokerage and business brokerage for over 40 years with his business partner, Dewey Mitchell.
Yep.
And those two gentlemen mean a lot to me. They've been my mentor through all of this. But
Right.
eventually, I had to, kind of take my own route and go and carve out my own niche in this industry. And so that's kind of a shortened version of all of it, but having going into this business with mentors was a really, really big deal. And so I personally like to offer that and be a mentor myself and help people get started in this industry because without a mentor, I don't know how people do it.
I don't know how they do either. Yeah, it's a hard business to crack, and there's so many things in commercial real estate and business brokerage you have to know in order to be very successful at it. And yeah, and I think it's a hands-on it's a hands-on learning experience, isn't it?
Oh, yes, very hands-on. Yes, you learn from doing. It's
Right.
really like just throw them in the waters.
Right. Sure. Sure. Well, do you think there was ever an event or I mean, you already mentioned your dad, and I do, of course, I know your dad. But do you think there was ever an event with your dad or not that triggered your interest in selling businesses?
That's so interesting. No, nothing triggered me to want to sell businesses. I mean, you mentioned my interior design background. I've always saw myself as a creative, as a designer. And what's funny is I had to leave my creative industry to go be a real creator. And I found that getting into real estate and business brokerage, essentially owning your own business was going to give me the freedom to be the creator that I wanted to be. And so business brokerage actually landed in my lap my first year of doing commercial real estate, my first listing was selling an automotive repair shop.
Really?
Yeah, so it was real estate and business right off the
Mm.
bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there wasn't necessarily an event that inspired me. It was an opportunity
Hmm.
that fell in front of me that I had no experience in, but I just dove right in. And since then, I really enjoyed the business brokerage side of things because it's a little bit of math, it's problem solving, and I really found the service of helping people move from their business into their next chapter of life. I really found that service more meaningful to me than just typical commercial real estate brokerage. You could still
Hmm.
find meaning there, of course, but I felt that service just seemed to have more weight for me. And so I really liked business brokerage and wanted to continue with it and continue to learn how to do it better.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, so let's back up to the yeah, the commercial interior design. How did you, well, first of all, how did you get into that, and how did you go from that to selling that automotive?
You know, it's a leap, right? Well, I went to college for interior design. I started out at UCF not knowing what the heck I wanted to do, but I've always identified as a visual person, visual artist, and design always, I was always attracted to design. And so I actually was going to go the architecture route, but interior design found me just due to logistics at the time, the programs that I was looking at. And so my mom and I decided together that interior design was actually the way to go.
Hmm.
And it was interesting because I was designing things at a larger scale because that's just the way my brain works, but in a very more detailed scale, which is the interiors of buildings. But I really enjoyed problem solving in this visual manner because that's really what design is. You have a client, you
Hmm.
have needs and wants of that client, and you have end users, and you have to get the needs and wants of them and all the psychological things going on. And really, design is problem solving through creativity. And I see now the correlation of that in what we do as business brokers too. We have a client, they have needs, they have wants, they might not even be aware of some of them. And
Right.
it's really about tapping into their why and their needs and problem solving. So how I got into that, it was through a series of, well, I got kicked out of UCF. And I'm not embarrassed to talk about that because that was actually when you asked me about was there an event, that was the first thing that popped into my mind,
Wow.
was when I got kicked out of college when I was 19. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was
You, what
Go
did you,
ahead.
was it your grades that were terrible, or what happened?
A little bit of grades, a little bit of me just not really caring. My aunt's sister was in ICU, suffering, her health was suffering, and we knew she was going to go any day. So I skipped a lot of classes towards the end. My grades were already poor, and
Mhm.
I just didn't care at the time. And I'm
Mhm.
smiling saying this because it is a part of my story that I'm proud of. I'm not proud of letting my grades slip away and letting the opportunity of going to college slip away. That's not something I'm proud of, but it was something, this whole event is what kickstarted and set the fire under my seat to
Mhm.
build a life and frankly kick ass ever since that day. It is what changed me. It is what motivated me. And because my parents supported me and didn't like reprimand me in this way and make me feel like a loser because I was already doing that to myself, I was like, I'm gonna be homeless. I got kicked out of college. There's no other direction for me.
I'm
But
all washed up at 19.
but it actually opened a whole world of different types of education to me. There
Mhm.
are other ways to get educated than a university. And
Sure.
so I ended up going to community college, I got a far more advanced and personal education it was then a community college, it was Valencia in
Yeah.
Orlando.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's now a university, which good for them. That
Mm,
was an incredible educational experience. And
hmm.
then that was when my mother and I came together and we were like, well, what do we want to do? Let's be very intentional with the time you have left and the education that you want to get. So I actually went to tech and design school.
Okay.
When I was in high school, people who went to tech school got made fun of, which is very, very funny because when you graduate from a tech school, you come out with a trade, you come out with skill.
Right. Right.
Most
Hmm.
people who come out of universities don't have skills right away. So I graduated in in the midst, well, it was after the crash. It was 2011, and a lot of people were getting laid off from their jobs, and I came out with skills and I was cheaper labor.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
I got hired right out of college and was doing freelance design work in the city of Chicago, funny enough. But
Wow. Interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
so this
So
was
that's how you got into commercial interior design. And then what motivated you to make the shift to business brokerage from that point?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, my creative career wasn't allowing me to be so creative. When I was freelancing, I was able to be creative, but once I started working for design firms, you get pigeonholed into your job and you're just in AutoCAD all day. This is what I do, same 2D lines all day, same types of dimensions, and that's fine. That serves a purpose.
Mhm.
But it was actually not such a creative job after all. And I bounced around. I went to different firms, worked for different people, had amazing experiences and learned a lot. But I realized that it was time freedom that I really, really craved. And seeing my dad's lifestyle as a broker and an investor, and he runs his own life and his own company, that's what I desired. And
Hmm.
I
Gotcha.
I went for it. So I quit my job, cold turkey, signed up to get my real estate license. And let's see, that was 9 years ago. That was 9 years ago when I started all this. And like I said, I had a fire under my butt. So I
Right.
passed my test right away and just started prospecting and getting after it.
And here you are. Yeah. So, okay. So, commercial interior design, getting into business brokering, and now you've you have expanded your real estate license to you're licensed in what is it New York and
Mhm.
Florida?
Those two states, yeah, those are the only two real estate licenses I hold.
Okay.
We do business brokerage in a lot of the states in the Northeast. We do partner up with our fellow brokerages up there.
Hmm.
So we have our listings will be listed with a brokerage that's in that state that understands the law and all of that in the area. However, a lot of the states in New York, or excuse me, in the Northeast, don't require real estate licenses to do business brokerage.
Okay. Interesting. You said before a business partner in New York, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did you connect with him and or is it him or her? I'm sorry.
It's a her. It's a
Okay.
her. Mandy. Yeah, I was not seeking a business partner. It was something that I had always been interested in, but it had to be the right person. And she fell in my lap through our first winery listing, actually.
Really?
Yeah, she happened to be her family also owns a brokerage in New York, just as my
Hmm.
family owns a brokerage here in Florida under the same brand name.
Hmm.
And our she was going after getting the listing that the couple, and this is essentially how I got into listing wineries. This couple that I met, and that's a fun story too. But they wanted me to list their winery in New York. I was like, well, that's great. Super flattered. I don't have a license in New York though. How am I supposed to do that?
Right.
And at the same time, this woman, Mandy, was trying to get their winery under contract with her to list. And so they kind of put us together. And at first we were competing for business, but then really what happened is we just hit it off and I was like, I want to work with her. And she was like, I want to work with her.
Perfect.
So we made it happen.
Wow. It's like aligned in that point, and then you're just going together, or the two of you are going together with wineries. That's cool. Well, what selling wineries? I've never sold a winery myself, I'd have to admit, but selling a winery is a fascinating niche. And so, what makes, in your opinion, a winery sale different than other types of commercial properties or businesses?
Well, what makes it different is that it incorporates every type of commercial listing out there. It incorporates land, development, agriculture, industrial, residential, retail, hospitality. It's literally every category you can imagine in one package,
I never thought of that, but you're exactly right. It is. Wow.
plus a business on top of it.
Plus a business on top. Yeah.
With multiple streams of revenue. And usually the boutique ones that we work with, their cash flow is, well, they're all different, but they usually don't distribute their product. And if they're not distributing their product, they have to find other streams of revenue, such as being a wedding venue, an event venue. That's a
Mhm.
really big aspect of cash flow for those types of
Sure.
businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Huh. And so your partner, her name is Mandy. Is that what you said?
Mhm.
Okay. Does Mandy, did she have experience in the winery business brokering before you? Before you met her?
Only in the consumption department, such as myself.
Yeah, right.
We,
Know
we
a
were
lot about
both,
that.
yeah, we're both fans of, when
Mhm.
we met, we were both fans of wine beyond just drinking wine. We
Mhm.
did both have a passion for the growing of wine, and she's actually from the area that we started working in, which is Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Oh, Buffalo, New York, they make wine? Yeah, they do, actually. It's really interesting. And they make more than
Mhm.
just ice wines and like sweet grapes. They actually
Mhm.
have really beautiful, very thoughtful reds these days.
Mm.
So it's a brand new origin or area, I should say, of winemaking. It only just was acknowledged as an AVA, an American viticulture area, in
Okay.
early 2000s. So it's brand new to the area, or to the wine industry. And that's another aspect of what we try to do is educate people that this is a new world of wine, and it's with things changing around the world, this is going to be a very, very desirable place to grow
Yeah.
wine grapes.
Oh,
So I might have tangented a little bit there, but yes, we both had a passion for learning about the process of making wine and the
mhm.
agriculture and the business behind it. So we were already eager to learn and probably knew more than the average business broker.
Mhm.
But me coming in with business brokerage experience and commercial real estate experience, her coming in with more luxury, residential, a white glove, sort of that dealing with emotions of people through residential experience,
Mhm.
it kind of seemed like a match made in heaven.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Good. And so are you actively marketing to get more winery listings in New York?
Yes, we are. More than just New York, though. We actually have recently launched what we call the VAT Global Exchange. VAT is our team name. It stands for Vino Advisory Team. And what we want to do is connect this network overseas too into the other wine worlds in the old world, such as Spain, Italy, France, Portugal. So we've connected with brokers out there, and we see ourselves as advisors, not just transactional brokers, but we want to advise people in this niche too. When people come with the opportunities, hey, I have an opportunity to list a winery. I don't know the first thing about valuing a winery. We want to be there for those people too. We want
Mhm.
to help them value their winery and bring them through the transaction. So we team up with other agents and brokerages and sort of help them get that transaction all the way through to the end. So
Gotcha.
we do it nationwide, and now we're starting to go overseas.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of marketing techniques do you use, like with your social media strategy, or do you have other creative outreach efforts that you use?
You know, we found one of our most successful ways of getting listings was old school, going to the winery convention and setting up a booth and talking to people and meeting people face to face.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because it's such a niche, we go to the place where all the niche people go and gather in person, and
Hmm.
we show them what we do. And they all
Yeah.
talk. They all talk. We talked to one person that ended up leading us down to three more listings.
Wow. Wow. And all those listings are still again in New York, right?
No, some are in Connecticut. Some are,
Connecticut. Oh, wow. So they grow grapes in Connecticut too.
yes, they do. Yes,
Wow.
Connecticut wine is
Really?
different. It's definitely going to be sweeter, but it's way more drinkable than any wine made here in Florida. So,
Right, right. Yeah,
but
Florida's not a wine state, I guess, right?
no, it's not. They make their wine with blueberries and other
Mhm.
fruits,
Mhm.
but they could also order juice from another state and make really good wine here, but that would not be an estate winery. Estate winery means that they grow their own grapes
Right. Yes.
on the
Okay.
property.
Huh. Interesting. Wow. Well, your mission and with this seems to blend creativity, strategy, and really like a forward-thinking mindset. How do you envision that going in this new age where technology is such an important and takes such a massive role?
It does take a huge role. In fact, if your business isn't incorporating tech or AI, I don't know if you have a future because this is where the future is going and we have to incorporate it. I see it as helping me and my partner stay in a creative headspace. It gives us it being technology and AI in particular, it gives us more time and energy back to us so that we can stay in a creative place and really visualize and remain the soul of our business. When AI and tech can do all the machine work, all of the things that can be very repetitive,
Hmm.
we can set it up so all these systems are rolling without our time and energy being spent. So when you can preserve your time and your energy, you can stay in such a more positive, lighter state of being, and you can create from that space so much more so than if you're feeling energetically depleted, you know? So
Right.
that's what I found in my experience by utilizing and collaborating with, I'm just going to say AI because that's what I've been using a lot lately. But I also use other, I use LLMs such as ChatGPT to
Mhm.
help me create things that would normally take me hours of my time and it takes it minutes. But that doesn't take away this, whatever we're creating is still coming from my direction, from my mind, and it's just putting it together and doing the research for me. And then of course we still have to refine and make it what we need it to be. But I see it as a way to speed things up for us and to help us elevate and remain in that creator mindset. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, and so then that turning back then to business brokers and you wanting to mentor other business brokers, that this is sort of a good segue to that because what would advice, especially when it comes to tech, but what advice would you give to business brokers about helping them find their creative voice in the industry? What would you say to them?
Yeah, creative voice. I think it's interesting because it's not really something you have to find. I think we feel like we have to find it, but it's already in you. And I think the work is actually more about shedding the layers of inauthenticity. Because once you get rid of the things that are inauthentic to you in your life, that are just either distracting you or just things that you're doing that aren't quite feeling right, that aren't you, aligned with you, once you get rid of that weight, you'll be able to, your authenticity will come out naturally. you won't even have to try, right? Because it's innately in you. But as far as business brokerage comes, I think I think when you are working with clients, they want to work with you in particular, right?
Hmm.
They really do. They could select so many different people, but they want to work with you and who you are. And building trust with them is probably the first thing you want to try to do. And how do you build trust? I mean, that takes time, right? Well,
True.
one of the things I would like to offer and challenge people to do to build trust with their customers is asking deeper questions. Get to their why, get to that deeper level. They might not even know their why until they're talking to you.
Hmm.
And so ask the questions that other brokers aren't going to ask. And you can utilize AI to help you do this.
Hmm.
And you can ask AI to ask you questions that you haven't asked yourself or considered yourself yet. That's one of my favorite ways to utilize AI is to ask me questions that I'm probably not asking myself. Ask me some hard questions today that I haven't contemplated yet.
Wow. I have never heard of anybody doing that, but that's an interesting idea. I'm sorry.
So it just gets you to think on a much deeper level.
Sure. Did you think of that yourself, or did you read that, come across it somewhere?
Oh, I'm sure some of my one of my mentors along the way mentioned it or did it themselves, and then I've just been building off of that.
Right.
I have a business mentor, and he actually created a collective, and so I'm in a group of people where AI is something that we all use and collaborate, and we look at it from a positive light, and so we're all showing each other different ways to use it and
Hmm.
to build our businesses and invest with, actually.
Don't look now, but you're being creative again.
Yeah,
You
so it's fun. I think
are.
it's just really fun to play with and
Mhm.
just get creative with it. But I think questions, asking the right questions is the basis, is the foundation of understanding your clients and servicing them to the best of your abilities.
Well, what have you not done in business that you'd like to do and you see yourself doing in the future?
That's such a good question. Great. Wow, thank you for this question, Susan. I wasn't expecting to talk about this at all, but
Oh, okay.
I really want to create and develop and my interior design and my commercial real estate, everything's coming together in this. I really want to develop beautiful sort of recreational retreat centers for people to heal in, right? Like I've been doing business brokerage for wineries who host wedding venues, taking that sort of a business model of being a wedding venue. But instead of just doing weddings, maybe we host retreat centers and healing spaces for people to come and really get to know themselves. You want to get to know who you are authentically, go a little deeper, right? That's a form of healing. Anything you're going through is just looking at yourself on a deeper level. And yeah, so that's really something that I do want to do next. I see in my future is developing these beautiful retreat and healing centers through unique structural design and through
Mhm.
elements of nature, but also creating a business model that makes sense and still cash flows.
Right. Wow, that's a really interesting idea. And so, I mean, I would guess you would use exercising and yoga and meditation and Reiki and I don't know, that massage, a whole lot of other things, I suppose. But
Mhm.
is that kind of what you're thinking, having incorporating all those into a space like at a winery that's just beautiful and healing?
Yes, absolutely. And the way I would see my role is I am the curator of the space. I create the venue.
Hmm.
And then those other professionals who do all those things that you just mentioned
Hmm.
are free to rent the space out for a week, a day,
Right.
whatever. They host their retreats at the space, but it's already designed and curated for healing and for peace, honestly. We're all just after peace at the end of the day, aren't
Right.
we?
Yeah, I know I am. Yeah, yeah. That's a really neat idea. Do you have investors or people that you've talked to about this that would work with you on it?
I haven't gone that route. I purchased my first piece of land that I
Okay.
want to at least test it on.
Hmm.
I have 22 acres in Micanopy, Florida. I don't know
Yeah.
if you even know where that is.
I do. It's just north of where I am because I'm in Ocala. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there you go. Exactly. It's the same
yeah,
county, Marion County.
right.
And I just think that would be a great place because
Mhm.
it's very secluded but it's also pretty close to I-75, so the
Mhm.
access is easy.
Yeah.
But I've already purchased the land. I haven't talked to investors. I'm not sure if that's the route I would want to go, but I'm absolutely open to it. I would
Mhm.
just want to work with people who feel aligned with the mission.
Sure.
But I'm always open to collaborate. This journey, everything that we do, business brokerage, everything is not a journey to go on alone. It's all
Mhm.
collaboration based. So I'm open to talking
Hmm.
to anybody about that.
Okay. Well, I have a couple people in mind, so I'll have to connect you. That's an interesting idea. Well, so last question for you, and then I'll let you go. But I asked you about what you're going to do in your future business life, and now you've told me, but or what you're thinking of. But what about in your personal life? What do you want to do in your personal life that you haven't done that you think you'd really love?
Oh man. Um, well, I love traveling. I've never been to Asia. I feel very drawn to not just Asia, but even South America. I feel very drawn to both of those cultures and maybe going to a place that's similar to what I'm talking about designing and just really I love being in nature and I just want to be like surrounded by nature and that energy. And this is one of the reasons I got into business brokerage and commercial real estate is so that I could create a life where I can go adventure and do whatever I want whenever I want
Right.
while serving others. And I think it's good to take a break from your business and go deep, deep into nature and also other cultures and experiencing how they do things, how they reconnect, and how they retire at the end of the day.
Right.
But yeah, I'd love to, I don't know, sit on the top of a high peak of a mountain somewhere in Asia and just be present.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good. That sounds really good. That's I can see you up there on the
Thank you.
top of a peak somewhere. So well, thanks so much, Elena. And fellow Deal Scouts, I invite you to reach out. If you have further questions for Elena, click the link below or find the link in the show notes, and I will get you in touch with her. And as you know, I'm always on the hunt for other interesting guests like Elena, where we can learn more about different and new deals and new ways to invest and find meaning and purpose in life. So, because everybody wants a good investment and meaning and purpose, right? Yeah. So if you'd like to appear on the Deal Scout to talk about your deals, I'd love to hear from you. Reach to me at susan@thedealscout.com or again, click the link below. And that's it for now. I hope you have a terrific day. And thank you again, Elena, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having
Yeah.
me. I'm really grateful.
Yes. This is Susan Reilly with the Deal Scout signing off. Okay. And